article is from Sanathana Sarathi, published in 1958, titled The Fact About Babaji. Be reasonable, and let not the sword of reason and discrimination rust away in the sheath of the mind. Let us not build the edifice of our faith and belief on the sandy foundation of hearsay. It is high time we wriggle and struggle out of this dull and cloudy atmosphere of vain gossip and vague ideas and behold the Sun of Truth vis-a-vis. And for truth, experience is the last word. One may very well get it confirmed by a reliable authority, let alone the experience of that which is beyond the mind and the senses through hard sadhana and by perfect realization. But to deny the bare truth lying before the five senses of knowledge, jnanendriyas, amounts to nothing less than defying one's own self. In short, it is diffidence. Miracles versus Babaji's infinite Shakti. Indeed, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had warned us against miracle mongering and the mongers as well. Sadhakas have been instructed not to visit them, yea, to shun them like dung. But then, whom did the Paramahamsa mean by the term miracle mongers? Definitely, he meant such of those sadhakas whose aspirations and efforts were solely bent upon bagging up occult powers which could only prove fatal and suicidal in almost all the cases. Hence it is that there has got to be the necessary struggle or the sadhana before the misdirected aspirant gets hold of them. And secondly, these powers have a very small sphere of activity comparatively and never last long as they come and go, indicating thereby that it is no more than a passing stage in the spiritual development of the person, and a stage not worth paying any attention to. But take ye the case with Babaji. Good Lord, there is no comparison whatsoever. If the above set of magical powers are the outcome of sadhana, Babaji's creations are instantaneous fructifications of his sankalpa, his mere wish. He wills it and it's done. The supernatural powers are manifest in him in full, even from his very birth. Nay, their manifestation is limitless both in their quantum and quality, in extent and in variety. They are there for they are limited only if we can call Krishna's Leelas as not boundless. They are impermanent only when we say that Madhava's Shakti is transitory. Whoever will dare say that? Babaji is the creator himself. Indeed, who else is Swamiji than the Shiva himself in Jiva's form? And who else is he than the Madhava manifesting himself through his Maya's attire? Proof comes in the voice of the challenge, and here is the reply. It's quite simple. God is a creator, the preserver, the destroyer, etc. And if Babaji is God, ipso facto, he must possess those qualities too. Surely he does. Take a simple instance. Swamiji waves his hand, say for a sweet laddu, and there it is, as real as reality, perhaps even better. It satisfies all the five senses, sweet for taste, solid for touch, colored for sight, with fine smelling ghee, which has gone into its formation, and it is there with a sound too, only if one could produce it. it lasts as long, and partake of it with as many as you can. Take anything, be it a ring, a pendant, a necklace, etc. It is as pure as gold can be, and if one is careful, more permanent than the possessor himself. Then wherein does the reason lie for your suspicion? Even if this be pronounced as no better than a product of Maya, Mantra, and Tantra, so are all our things of this world, and so can we be branded too. Where is the end to such doubting? This aspect of creation is poles apart from and has nothing to do with the street juggler's magical coins, which only seem to be but will never be there, to be passed on from hand to hand. Or else, showing these, why should the juggler be a beggar himself? In truth, he commands the five elements to combine, and there turns out the desired, the willed for object. Much more than all these, there is one Mr. R, who is standing example bearing testimony to the life-giving power of Bhagavanji. His has been a case of the soul re-entering the same old body which it had once left. It is as if he had brought him out of the bowels of death and has lengthened the fatal thread. Strange and incredible almost, yet true and factual. He is the preserver. No less prominent in him is the protective aspect of Lord Vishnu. Indeed, this Vishwa-Vyapak has the whole universe for his body with the so many Jivakotis for his limbs. Such being the case, he could sense out, so to say, any sort of jeopardy to the devotee in no more a time than we would, an ant bite on our physical selves. His ears are ever up and ready, nay, his whole self, tense, wary, and vigilant, to catch the weakest wave of the distressful tone of some bhakta in great misery, in peril of his life, be he far, far away in a forlorn jungle, or on the sandy expanses of a hot desert, or even on the stormy and angry ocean. Quick as a wink, he flies to the spot of danger in his subtle form, and to his utter happiness, the devotee is freed and saved from the dreadful jaws. If we could believe in the Gajendra Moksha of the Bhagavata, what sort of reason prevents us from fixing our faith onto this super act of saving? If there lies a difference between that illustration and this incident, the fault is not with Bhagavanji, but with us, the Bhaktas, for not being as great as the Gajendra. And there have been many such occurrences. It is no rarity to see Swamiji going in trance to save his devotees from the disabling and highly dangerous paralytic and heart attacks, from fatal accidents and dreadful diseases, and even from desperate suicides. To cite one out of the many instances, it was about the end of July 57. One evening, we, Swamiji and his Bhakta Brinda, were at Vashishta Guha near Rishikesh. Then Ganga Bhavani was quite in her mood, so to speak, flowing swift and strong. About 10 miles off the Guha, the cave, was a sadhu seated on a stone, lost in meditation, just on the bank of the river. Deep in dhyana, he tumbled into the water, and off the current carried him along. For him, it was all like in a dream, until after a while later, he regained his consciousness, only to notice his own self caught in a perilous situation. coming to a conclusion that it was all over with him and would soon have to face fatal shears, he began his prayer to the Paramatma, the Soul Supreme. It was this body that was beheld floating along the river near about the cave by a few of our party, but none of them did say it out then. The prayer must have reached its place, and Bhagavanji was off into the mood, away from normalcy. He had his palms one over the other as if enclosing something, and he was not out of that state of mind until some time after we returned from the cave. Then he began saying that S had seen it but revealed it to none. We heard him narrating the accident, and Mr. S could only confirm it. It was to protect the sannyasin's heart from water that Swamiji had kept his palms closed. The sadhu was saved on to the bank somewhere near Rishikesh, and that after about a 30-mile float. If this does not mean preservation, what else does? But then, one of the following three conditions must be fulfilled before the SOS of the victimized person draws Swamiji's attention. He must either have something from Babaji in the form of a raksha for self-protection, or he should call on the Lord heart and soul whenever danger threatens him. In case the person in distress fails to qualify himself in either of the two ways, he should at least be a man of truth and sincerity. It does not matter if he is no devotee, and in calling upon Bhagavanji, no particular name is essential. Rama, Krishna, Jesus, Allah, Sai, be it any. All names and all forms being his and his alone. He is only too ready to answer the cry of the one in disaster and to avert it. Speaking on the physical plane, the sadhu in the aforementioned illustration was no devotee of Babaji, nor had he ever seen him, and he only prayed to the Parabrahman, the Nirguna, and the Absolute Oversoul. All the same, wasn't he saved of his life? His oceanic psyche. You need not chant and worship only this particular name and form of mine. Take up any, but only that for which you cherish real love, lest you should be guilty of having duped your own self, and never commit self-deception. This have we heard him say many a time. Then again he would say, how could I tell anyone not to go here, there, and elsewhere to the different places of worship, but come down here to Puttaparthi alone? It is I who am in those places too, and it is to me that the pilgrims go, wherever it be. What broader mind can there be, O reader? Infinite is the sun of his mind, and so are the rays emanating from it in the form of so many great ideas. Such breadth of his outlook naturally doesn't limit itself to this or that one religion in particular. He embraces all religions as his own, and he maintains, as did the Paramahamsa Sri Ramakrishna, that the difference between them is only one of approach, but to the self-same goal. As many religions, so many paths. The Apad Bandhava. Many more are the supreme qualities that we could gather from the sannyasin's incident if we would only dive a little deeper into the matter. He alone is our nearest and dearest when we plunge ourselves headlong into a peril. Man mostly proves himself to be too frail and feeble, and even selfish to think of saving one of his brethren in danger at the expense of his own life. But this selfless Apad Bandhava, our real kinsman at the time of despair, is ever on the outlook and ever ready to stretch out his invisible helping hand, is only too willing to leave the body to its fate when it comes to saving his dear devotee. Babaji, the all-knowing and the all-pervading. Moreover, how could he come to see things far, far beyond our mental grasp unless he is omniscient? To speak of the plight of a bhakta travelling high up in the north to the foot of the Himalayas from the near-abouts of the Cape amounts to nothing less. And to be omniscient, he must be omnipresent too. For, unless he is everywhere and all-present, how could he come to know of whatever is happening in those places? That he is Sarvagnya, the all-knowing one, is further revealed by those endless reserves of knowledge within him, gushing out as the oral Ganga whenever he proposes to speak. Indeed, this copious streaming out is very much akin to the flow of the Ganges, for like the sacred river, it has its origin in the holy head of the Pratyaksha Shiva in the form of so many great ideas, and it runs down through and through the ears and hearts of the eager throng, be they holy or contaminated. And while the holier fill their hearts with its tirtha to serve them as so many bathing ghats for their ideas to be plunged in the rendered and purer, still the less holy ones misuse it by misinterpretation and so on. All the same, the water is as pure as purity itself. Pandits only gaze at him aghast, classifying the sermon within themselves as referring to so many Upanishads, the Vedas, and other sacred texts. Raja.